I mean, speaking of which, let's just get right into that next fight, right? I got William Knight and Jang Dong or Jung Down going at it. I mean, Korean names, whichever way you want to say it. I think he's size wise. I mean, there's you don't need to be a guy who's watching fights for as long as I have to know that there's a massive difference here. I think that William Knight is going to utilize his game plan though. When you look at all of the past fights he's had, he's been able to push guys up against the fence. He's been able to close the distance. And, he comes with some underrated power in those strikes. I think that he's very accurate for what he does throw. The thing with Jung, though, is he attacks the body so well, right? And I think from a distance, he's going to be able to dictate that game plan from the get-go. Like they say, fight starts standing, right? So if he's constantly landing some good body kicks and throwing some big shots to the middle and, kind of avoiding getting into that close quarters, because the way he fought against Sam Alvey was very much boom, body back up, boom, head, boom, back up. And I think him and Sam Alvey had really good exchanges in that. And I think it tested Sam Alvey a little bit in terms of, fighting against the fence. There were times where he looked like he was going to be in danger, but, Jung didn't really throw much at him. I think that for how versatile he looks on the feet sometimes with the body strikes and head punches and even some of the kicks, he seemed very, scared to pull the trigger, if you will, in some of those moments to maybe get caught himself. And that was a great fight, finished a draw. The way I see this one going is kind of a bit closer in terms of just like the fighting range, things like that. I think William Knight's going to do everything possible to get in close. I don't think he's going to take the chances that Sam Alvey does because Alvey wants to stand there and bang. In this case, William might be able to throw some good shots to kind of get in there. He's accurate. He likes to lunge forward. But game plan wise, I mean, if this fight's not going to the ground and kind of exploiting some of that great wrestling he's got, I just see this being a very tough fight for him. The odds have it kind of in that favor too. You look at him right now, he opened as a minus 104, 105, favorite versus a minus 124. So I would say that's approaching pretty much even numbers there. But now you're seeing him kind of go closer to that plus 115, plus 110 with Jung kind of jumping up to that minus 140, minus 135 range. So he is separating himself a little bit. I always have the argument the weigh-ins play a huge part in that. Anyone who's just wanting to have fun betting on the fights, if you go by the weigh-ins and you go look at these two weighing in and then also go look at the face-off, I mean, you're probably going to look at this guy and be like, well, are these guys even the same weight class? Yes, they are. I think that William Knight holds the weight pretty well. And for him, it's like he doesn't have to cut. He looks great. I think that in terms of speed, in terms of athleticism, he's going to be there. And I think, Jung does fight a little flat-footed too, right? When we talk about these kind of heavy-handed boxers, it really doesn't matter where they're from. They seem to have that ability to just stay on their power foot and really kind of push forward. But, if William Knight can even land some of those quick pot shots and really change levels and throw some feints in there, I think this can be a much more competitive fight than people are giving him credit for. We've seen him, change those things in the past. I think that he's always changing that narrative as being the smaller guy and having some issues with distance strikers and all that kind of stuff. He seems to constantly be able to get in there very consistently. Biggest disappointment was losing the Alonzo Menifield fights. I think that was going to be a great example of where we see this big power puncher, trying to take on this really good grappler who's going to be able to utilize wrestling and probably get it to the ground against the fence, especially late in that fight. Whereas in this case, Jung looked really good late against Sam Alvey. And I think in that fight with both those guys being able to kind of maintain the same pace, like fight together kind of thing, they were able to kind of fight to a draw there. In this case, I think William Knight's going to have cardio for days. If Jung can keep up, that's going to be in his favor. But if this fight is not staying on the feet for most of it, it's going to be a tough battle for him. So if you're a ground guy and you like to bet on some of these underdogs who can, really show off their ability to get inside on these strikes, Mike Tyson style, land, get low, get the takedown, William Knight's your guy, because the way I see it is this line isn't jumping off the wagon to a minus 200 for that reason. He has such a good chance of winning. And I think that if you look at the way he stacks up against bigger competition, he usually, executes his game plan fairly well. The Alex Cameron fight is one that comes to mind for me because I really enjoyed how well he was able to kind of dictate pace, avoid any type of, young blood type of fancy stuff that was coming at him, really get it up against the fence and grind that out. And I think if he can do that against Jung, who's going to be very powerful and much bigger, it's going to be a great fight for him. But again, watch out for those body strikes, watch out for those body punches because Jung